On this episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast, we talk about The Scars of Man on the Once Nameless Wilderness, Part 1 and 2 by Panopticon. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Medalist podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal. We like to talk about it. And today it's Black Metal January. So, of course, one of my episodes is going to be a Panopticon episode. It's our second or third in the last year. I don't.
Panopticon?
Yeah, it depends on what part of the month we did.
A lot of albums.
Depends on what part of the month we did Kentucky last year in January.
You know, and this is one of those albums. It's great because if you're into like post black metal, you want to hear some of that, but then you get tired of post black metal and want to hear some shoegaze country.
Yeah, then, you just want to hear some Americana and some bluegrass. But here you go.
But did you listen to this again?
Yeah.
I don't know if I would call it Americana. I mean,
parts of it.
It's like
some of it.
I got halfway through part 2 and I feel like someone was pulling my heart out of my chest.
It's it's sad bluegrass. That's yeah. You could call it gothic bluegrass, and like that's a thing.
Very well done.
Like there's a lot. Part of the origins of Kentucky bluegrass is fucking dispossessed, depressed coal miners.
Yeah.
And he's from Kentucky. I mean, the album Kentucky was literally about that.
Sure.
And so, yeah, people kind of think of bluegrass as being kind of this very bright, sort of hokey thing. But
sure.
A lot of American folk and country and blues and everything, obviously with the blues,
sure.
But like, you know, that era of American music. Mm-hmm. You know, in the early 1900s with the roots there.
Yeah, if you really think about it, people talk about the good old days. If you go back to that era, you know, before, you know, there was proper health care or electricity. I mean, life was shit, birth to death. I mean, yeah. Of course, a lot of the music is going to come out as
that was folk and Americana and
right.
and early country and stuff. It was a lot of it was protest music. Something I've been listening to a lot. Just apropos nothing, I think, is the song "You Will Never Leave Harlan Alive" by Daryl Scott, which was featured. Various covers of it and the original version were featured as the outro music to every season of Justified. Which a large portion of it takes place in Harlan. That's where the main character is from. And I fucking love that show. And it just popped into my head and I was like, let's listen to this. I was like, oh yeah, this is really, really good. This song is really good. There was a Brad Paisley cover of it on, I think, the end of the first season. And then every season after, they ended it with a cover of that song. And then the last season was the original version.
How many seasons of Justified are there? 6. It's 6? I saw part of the first. I don't know why I didn't go back and watch the rest of it. It's good. It was a good show. I liked it. Boyd Crowder, played by, I'm going to tell you about with the big teeth.
With the big teeth.
Holy crap.
You're talking about Walton Goggins.
Yeah, Walton Goggins.
To me, the name Walton Goggins is even more like Styx, Kentucky than something like Boyd Crowder.
Sure.
Or Raylan Givens is the main character of that show, which is Timothy Oliphant. Yeah. By the way, how far have you gotten in The Mandalorian?
First season. I made it through the first season.
There's a
got Disney Plus now, by the way.
Yeah. There is a wonderful surprise in the first episode of season 2 that I won't spoil for you.
Right.
But, I was incredibly excited by it.
Because I assumed that the actor
Boba Fett?
No, I assumed that the actor that we see at the end of season 1 was going to be more prominent in the series.
Oh, are you talking about
Giancarlo Esposito?
Giancarlo. He's in season 2.
Yeah, but I thought he was going to be more prominent in season 1. But he just showed up for the last episode.
Well, that's because they did a fake out with Werner Herzog.
Right.
This guy's going to be Werner Herzog's going to be the main
big
villain.
Bad. Nope. I think we're spoiling it for people, but
I mean, season 1's been out for a year at this point.
Yeah.
Everyone who is going to watch The Mandalorian has watched it. It's one of those shows. But for season 1 anyway. Lots of people haven't seen season 2 yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
But in any case, I thought you were talking about Pedro Pascal.
Whose
face you only see in the last episode of the first season, because he was actually not in the armor for most of the shoots in season 1.
But he does the voice though.
Yeah, he did the voice. Most of season 1, they hadn't cast the Mandalorian yet. They didn't know who was going to be his voice, so they just had the stuntman wearing the armor.
Wow!
And props to him because he did a great job emoting through all of that.
It was beautiful.
Through all that Beskar. Apparently, Pedro was not a big fan of wearing the armor throughout season 2. But
he did.
He did it anyway. But apparently, there were some complaints from him. But hey, you're an actor. Deal with it.
This is what you do.
I mean,
Viper.
What most actors don't do is wear a helmet that covers all of their recognizable features for the entirety of the show.
Right. We're going to hire you. You're a famous face in acting in Hollywood and the world theater. Now let's cover all that shit.
Yeah, that's why in a movie like Backdraft, starring Kurt Russell, none of the firefighters are ever wearing a respirator. They're just wearing a helmet with a plastic face shield, so you can see their face, despite the fact that in a situation like that,
they'd all be dead.
They would all be dead from smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason, something I didn't know. I watched, I've been watching Adam Savage's Tested videos lately, which is his YouTube channel. Where he's just in the last year or so, Tested has gone through several phases of people, doing podcasts and hosts and whatnot. But at this point, I think it's just Adam doing his own thing, talking about prop making and cosplaying and stuff like that, and answering questions about Mythbusters. But he is a massive fan of The Expanse. Because of course he is.
He's in it, isn't he?
I think maybe he has a cameo.
Yeah, he has a cameo. He's in the ship that crashes to Venus. He's on it.
Oh yeah. He's on. I can't remember the name of that ship.
Right.
But yeah,
which pissed me off. I'm like, I'm getting to love all the characters. Oh, they're about to fucking die.
Yep.
Damn it.
Yep. That's the thing about The Expanse is all of like the minor side characters are so well crafted and acted, and then it's like, and they didn't have plot armor.
Right.
But
which in The Expanse
doesn't quite exist as much.
Not entirely. I mean, there's a core.
You can believe that the core characters continue to survive reasonably because they're all extremely good at what they do.
Right.
Like they're all very competent and they all seem to be obeying all the same rules. It's just they're better at doing what they do than the people they're up against.
Right.
And so they succeed. It's not like plot contrivances that keep them alive. It is at the end of the day.
To some extent, yeah.
It's much easier to expend your disbelief of like that person should be dead. It's like, no, of course they survived because they're smart and they did this.
Right.
But he was doing a video on the armor. I think this was at the time that season 2 had come out. Talking about, he was looking at like the weapons and armor, and there's the Martian armor and the helmets. The Martian helmets changed between season 1 and season 2. The first season they had this big face and nose piece that covered the entirety of the actor's face. And in season 2, they were like, we built this and we really like these helmets, but the producers were kind of like, we need to see more of the actor's face so they can emote.
Right.
Because it's not like anyone on The Expanse is all that famous. It's just that we want people to be able to see these actors' faces so the audience gets the full measure of their performance.
Sure.
And so they went to a full clear face, and then you can put all kinds of lights on the inside of the helmet to see them and all that sort of stuff.
Like it's a stage in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting. It was just like, oh, so that I don't think I even noticed it.
No, I didn't either.
That the helmets had changed. Partially because I think most of them stop wearing the Martian armor somewhere in season. They generally only wear it if they're going to be bashing doors in, which is not very common for the crew of the Rossi. Although I was kind of surprised when in season 5 so far, it's mild spoilers, Holden finally gets on to the Rossi, and he spent the whole time in battle armor so far. Partially because he's very much on the warpath at the moment.
Yes, he is.
New episode today. I'll have to watch it once we're done recording.
New episode today?
Yeah, it's Wednesdays. It's always Wednesdays.
My dude.
How have you been since we last recorded?
I've been good. Still working at home. What was going on? Like I said, I got Disney Plus. My 25-year-old was in town.
Oh, nice.
She was here. I only get to see a little bit of her. She stopped by she came in to celebrate her friend, like a friend that she's had since they were like 3 and 4 years old. And she went to celebrate some fun time with them.
Yeah.
And then so she said, Dad, is it going to be okay if I just stop by, have dinner with you? And then
it's like, duh.
Yeah, that's why you're here. You're here to see your friend. Yeah. And then, yeah. Then she left on Monday.
They always leave.
They got to go back to their life. You know, these adult children.
These adult children.
She was going to have me. She says, I'm going to give you my password. She doesn't talk like this at all. But I'm going to give you.
This is what OJ thinks women sound like.
So she was going to give me her password. And then I tried to make it work. And she said, maybe it's the wrong password.
For Disney Plus?
Yeah. And I could just use her account.
Yeah.
And then I tried to do it, and Roberta was like, it's $70 for a year. Just get the year.
Just fuck it.
Yeah.
See, my parents finally got it. So they're like, you can just set up your own account. And it's like, cool.
Nice.
And so I did. I'm still mooching out their Netflix, too.
Really?
I do pay for my own Hulu in Amazon Prime. But
sure.
The Netflix and Disney Plus, I'm mooching off of them. So thank you. You too.
I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to stick with the second year of Disney Plus. I mean, I like everything that's on it, but I don't know.
See how you feel.
Yeah, I'll see how I feel a year from now.
I know National Geographic is in there.
Yeah, which I like.
Have to check out some of the documentaries on that.
Actually, it's, the world, according to Jeff Goldblum, is.
Oh, wow.
It's actually pretty fantastic because he's so weird.
Because he's just a bizarre, kind of a bizarre guy.
But he's his take on things is so great.
I should watch that.
Yeah.
Something that I have forgotten to watch is The History of Swearing on Netflix.
That's very good.
Hosted by Nicolas Cage. Fuck yes.
It's great. I'm watching it.
I saw the trailer for it, and it ends with Nicolas Cage just screaming fuck into the air for like 10 seconds straight.
Well, it's funny. The episodes kind of go in like a downrange. I mean, they start with fuck, and then they go to shit.
Why do you start with fuck?
I don't know. I mean, they start with fuck.
That's the word. I said the word. The granddaddy of them all. I didn't say fudge. I completely fucked up that quote, but
you did.
It's only been 25 days since I've watched A Christmas Story.
Sure.
So
because that was Christmas.
Yeah, that was Christmas, and it was on. Now it's on TNT, I think, for 24 hours. It used to be TBS. I don't know why that changed. TBS used to do 24 hours of A Christmas Story, and now it's TNT.
I don't know.
I don't know if they're. It's probably all Viacom Universal or whatever the fuck that they're owned by. But
and today we have a new president.
Yeah, that happened today.
Yeah,
Biden's in there. I honestly, did you watch the inauguration?
I missed it because I didn't know what time it was. I was busy working.
It was. I think it was noon when it got kicked. I'd been watching it.
It was 11 a.m. Eastern and then noon.
Yeah,
noon our time.
Or no, it was noon Eastern, 11 a.m. our time. Because that's how time works.
Right.
That's how time works.
I had that backwards.
That mixed up. But I watched it. I genuinely got a little bit emotional during parts of the preamble from the director of the inaugural committee or whatever, the lady whose name I do not know. But also with Biden's speech. I didn't stay after his speech was done. I know Garth Brooks performed.
I saw Chris Gaines was there.
Chris Gaines was there.
Yeah.
There was some mumbling in in my meme chat about how, I wonder if people are going to be pissed about Garth Brooks performing. It's like, he doesn't have to give a fuck.
No, he doesn't.
He's Garth fucking Brooks. Yeah. Do you have any idea how much money he's worth? He doesn't have to give a shit about what anyone thinks about him ever again. He is worth so much goddamn money. Like,
right.
generally we think of like superstar musicians and think they're worth an insane amount of money, but most of them don't have a lot of liquid assets. As far as I understand, Garth Brooks is one of the richest musicians in the world. Mm-hmm. Like he is worth a lot of money.
He came into it when they were still selling albums in the early 90s. And he sold millions and millions of goddamn copies, like Rope in the Wind
much.
And all that shit.
I
think I bought Garth Brooks albums.
Yeah. It's like, you're you.
I'm me.
We're here talking about fucking
black metal.
And you bought a Garth Brooks album.
I bought Garth Brooks albums.
Yeah.
Because that's what you do.
That's what you did in the 90s. Yeah. You bought Garth Brooks. And it's like motorcycles.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like he doesn't have to give a shit. Also, I thought Lady Gaga did a wonderful job singing the national anthem. She walked out with that giant fucking gold eagle on her, over her heart, and I was like, "Bless you, Stephanie. You're a treasure." And also Michelle Obama, just looking, just amazing. Mm-hmm. That woman has so much style. Mm-hmm. She walked out and it was just like, God damn, Michelle, give everybody else a moment.
You had your time in the spotlight.
She always she has so much style. Mm-hmm. But I didn't really. J-Lo came out to sing America the Beautiful, and I was kind of like, I'm not really interested in listening to that.
Why is that? Just the song, or just you don't care for J-Lo?
I'm not I don't really have too many opinions on J-Lo's voice, but something about it was just like, I don't know.
Is it because she's Hispanic? I know you don't like the Hispanics.
Yeah, I'm being racist. That's what it is. That's what it is.
No.
I don't know.
It's not. I am well aware it's not, for the record.
Okay. Anyway. You've made things uncomfortable. Right. I don't know entirely why. I was just like, Yeah. I think at that point I was just like, get on with it. We don't need another song before Biden talks.
So I guess you're anxious by this point. Yeah. Was she third out?
No, Garth Brooks was third out.
So you were cool with Garth Brooks.
I didn't listen to Garth Brooks. I just know he was there and he performed. I didn't listen to him. Mm-hmm. But it was 2 musical performances before the inauguration. Like, come on, just get to it.
Sure.
But
let's party afterwards.
Yeah, I'm just happy that. I mean, things aren't over. Things are never over. But at the very least, sometime within the next year, we won't ever have to fucking hear about Trump again. Other than the occasional grumbling or something. Like, we won't really have to hear directly from him again, which is a thing that I treasure. It's
just grown so weary.
It's like having to go to bed thinking, I wonder what that fucking moron is going to say while I'm asleep, and waking up to being, oh, well, he did this bullshit again.
I was right to worry.
Like, and to be completely fair, yeah, Biden might have some fuck ups. Sure. But I think as far as people that could have been elected, Joe Biden is perhaps the most boringest, safest one. I might be proven wrong, maybe, but I think this is back to your bog standard, hopefully, whatever version of this we can eke out of boring American politics. I don't think anything will ever be the same. That's the nature of time. Nothing will ever be the same as it was. But whatever measure of like...
The toothpaste is out of the tube.
Yeah. Whatever measure of back to business as usual. Not every day is a crisis. You don't have to worry about what the president is saying every single day and pissing off fully half of the country.
Sure.
Like I hope we're back to that.
But I kind of hope that Biden doesn't tweet as much.
I'm sure he won't.
I'm sure he's going to be. He's not doesn't have the emotional standing of a
Toddler.
To toddler.
Yeah. So here's the Biden is also using the official POTUS account,
right? Which
Trump did not. Trump used his personal Twitter account
at Real Donald Trump.
And I think my dad and I had a discussion about this over the summer. Is that I'm not bothered by a president continuing to use Twitter. I am bothered by the manner in which they use it. Mm-hmm. Use Twitter to provide quick updates to the American populace, to let them know your thoughts on certain subjects.
Here's what I'm doing as the president.
Things that don't call for a press conference, but maybe you want to, give people an update about. Absolutely go ahead and use Twitter for that. Do not use it to call a football player a son of a bitch. Yeah. That is the difference to me. I don't care what they're tweeting as long as it's not dumb, stupid bullshit that pisses a whole bunch of people off that could very well have not been tweeted at all. It's not important information for us to know that you think Colin Kaepernick is a son of a bitch for just kneeling respectfully during the national anthem.
You don't have to say everything.
You don't have to say. You don't have to give us your opinion about literally everything.
I feel like our now current president has some opinions that I'm sure I would feel terrible about if I knew them. But you know what? I'm not going to know them because he's not stupid enough to put them out there.
Yeah. He's a very old white man.
He's a very old white man.
Something
very old experienced white man.
Yeah, something rattling around in that noggin of his that is very disagreeable to some people. But he's not going to say them.
No.
He's not going to just air them out to the whole nation. At least I hope he won't. Here's hoping.
Here's hoping. Clink.
Clink. We have cans again. I think I cleaned out my nice little beer glasses. I just didn't put them on the table. And I'd have to go get them, but I don't want to. So we're gonna stay sitting. God damn it.
That's fine.
So we've dilly-dallied long enough. It's Black Metal January. Time to talk about some black metal. And I guess, hey, Panopticon at many points has been a fairly political band. And part 2 of this album even includes a relatively subtle Trump diss track, which it's been a while since I've listened to all of part 2. And I got to the song The Itch. And I was like, this is a Trump diss track.
Right. This is the second to last song?
Third to last.
Third to last.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it's just nice to reaffirm that Austin's not a terrible human being. I think he's more of an anarchist than anything, but I think he certainly was not a fan, especially considering the environmental policies that Trump has pushed. Or Trump had pushed. Oh, that feels good to say. That feels really good to say. But considering the environmental policies, it makes sense that Austin Lunn, a.k.a. the guy behind Panopticon, that he would not agree because he's very much on the side of conservation and environmentalism. And that's really what this album is about.
He's environmentally conservative.
Yeah. Hey, there we go. The core of, as you might surmise from the name, Scars of Man on the Once Nameless Wilderness, is the core of this is an appreciation for nature and a deep love for the wilderness that he has in his life. And it's something that's kind of infected me a little bit. It's like, I think I've always had a desire to sort of get out and explore. It's just, we kind of live in North Dakota. And so everything that there is to explore is sort of the same thing over and over again. It's like, more grass.
Well, southwest North Dakota, there's fun stuff there.
Yeah, you get out to Medora and stuff, or like even the North Unit, especially the North Unit, I think, because there's less people go up to the North Unit of Teddy Roosevelt National Park.
I almost died there.
What happened to you there?
Well, I could have died. Maybe I didn't almost.
Everybody could die at any moment.
But it was one of those things where I was camping with my mom, my dad, and my new baby sister at the time, who's now 36.
Okay.
Almost 37. But she was a tiny baby, and we were camping in a tent, the 3 of us. And Dad's like, let's get up. I'm going to make egg in a cup. Dad's famous egg in a cup. Just scrambled eggs with it's basically deviled eggs, but you fucked it up. Here, it's in a cup.
Stir it in a cup.
Yeah.
It's cooked egg in a cup. Here you go.
Here's our hard-boiled egg, mustard, mayonnaise, salt, pepper.
It's a good breakfast.
It was delicious. So we're going to get up and my dad's going to unzip the tent, and we hear like the sound of like somebody walking outside.
Okay.
The fuck is walking outside our tent? And so Dad, instead of opening the thing, he goes and opens up the back zipper and peeks out. Oh, I heard a buffalo coming through.
Oh, nice.
Maybe we'll eat later.
Let's just all stay still for the time being.
Very, very fucking still.
God, they're so fucking big.
Yeah, they are.
They're crazy big. I remember my dad telling me a story. I thought of this a couple weeks ago, and I need to ask him whether or not it was just some embellishment for me being like 6 years old. But he told me a story that he was like hunting out in the Badlands at one point. And he was like, just looking through the scope or looking through some binoculars. He was on top of a butte, and he looks behind him, and here are just two bison that had just kind of snuck up on him. They probably were just walking to wherever they were walking, but here they're just standing there, 20 feet away from him, and him going, okay, this is cool. I mean, I have a gun, but they're bison. What the fuck is that going to do? I don't have a fucking 50 cal, so it's not going to matter.
I feel like the real mentality of a bison is they are well aware that they are a giant fuzzy murder tank. And, and they know this. You can spook them, but I think they also know that I'm going to stand here and you can get out of the way or I can get mad.
Yeah. Especially in North Dakota.
Yeah.
There is nothing here that is going to threaten them whatsoever.
There's not. Well, I mean, really, yeah.
Back in the day, maybe a whole pack of wolves if you are an old and sick bison.
Sure.
Because that's what happens in Yellowstone these days is old and sick by the wolves since they were introduced. Yeah, that's that's their prey. Wolves can take down just about anything if it's old and sick. But like here where there are no wolves.
Coyotes.
Nope.
No, not happening.
We got mountain lions, but those aren't going to go after a bison.
No.
Pack hunters, you got to worry. But like, yeah, there's nothing here to
packs,
but they're very small.
Yeah. It take like 300 or 400 coyotes to take out.
Pretty much. Nothing can fuck with a fully grown bison, and they know that. I mean, I technically, in that sense, almost died in the North Unit of Theodore Roosevelt. I was like 12. We were hiking out there, and I walked almost right into a rattlesnake. And it started rattling, and I kind of jumped back. I don't think I yelled shit out loud, but my family swears I did.
It would have been appropriate.
Yeah, it was. Nobody cared that I did. I mean, I wasn't allowed to like swear at home, but if I did yell that out loud, everyone was like, "Yeah, there's a fucking rattlesnake."
That was appropriate.
That was fine. That was fine to swear at that point.
I have taken down, by the way, an M bison, but I've never taken
taken down a regular bison,
an M bison,
and just an M bison.
Yeah.
Yes. There was a Street Fighter cartoon series that became a meme. Maybe someone got that.
Right.
That was the thing that M. Bison said, and it's Street Fighter. I get the reference.
I played the video game a lot.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't
see the cartoon.
I've never been a fighting game person, so
really?
I don't know a ton about Street Fighter other than the basic characters. We've
really
deviated.
Straightforward.
Dangerously.
Yeah. So,
Panopticon. This album came out in 2018. This is his most recent full-length album. He hasn't put out a full.
Did they come out together or did they come out separately?
They came out together, same time. The both of them came out. The first half is just regular Panopticon. It is some acoustic guitars and banjo and every instrument under the sun blended with some black metal. And some Americana bluegrass vibes mixed in with the black metal, but it is mostly
a lot of atmospheric stuff in here as well.
It's atmospheric, extreme metal, black metal type stuff. And then the second half is fully bluegrass, Americana, folk, tinged with
country kind of
depression.
Yeah.
Tinged
like I said, shoegaze country is how I felt I was listening to.
Very much something like that.
Yeah.
It's acoustic. It's sad acoustic music.
Yeah.
How about that?
Sounds good.
Although there's occasionally a bit of electric guitar that seeps in on a couple of songs. The first song on part 2 and the last song on part 2, I think both have a little bit, or maybe the second to last song.
To last song. The last song in part 2. Actually, the last song in part 2 is my favorite song in that album. That half of the album.
I am actually struggling to. I just listened to it.
It's just banjo and him singing.
I think, I just listened to both of these before you arrived, and I'm struggling to really bring part 2 to mind. Or at least that specific part of Snowbird and Branches. Yeah. I'm struggling to really bring that to. It's a beautiful song. It is. There's nothing quite about it that sticks out to me right now. Mm-hmm. A couple of beers into the conversation, but God, no, this is really good. I've listened to Autumn Eternal so many times, and I've kind of put this album on the back burner so much, and a lot of Panopticon's discography I've put on the back burner compared to Autumn Eternal, which is not fair because it's all really good. It's just
Kentucky's great.
Kentucky's great. I actually really like Revisions of the Past, which is his first 2 albums remixed and put together. And I need to listen to more of his music on a more regular basis. Earlier in the last year, at some point in 2020, that miasma of time, we talked about those 3 very long singles he put out. And I listened to those fairly regularly, but a lot of times it's like Autumn Eternal. And this album, I think, needs my attention more. There's a lot to love on this. Part of it is, I think, his in part 2, at the very least, his singing voice is like, it's not awful, but it's not. You can tell
there's something very Leonard Cohen about it.
Yeah, or like on a couple songs, kind of Tom Waitsy.
Yeah.
Very sort of croaky and kind of very gravelly.
Right.
Is his singing voice on certain parts of this, where it's like it almost hears like. Here's the thing. I think there's a lot of country artists who we hear recorded and they sound amazing, and then you watch them live and they're like, oh, that's kind of rough.
Sure.
And that's what we hear recorded on this, which makes me think if you watched him perform these songs live, it would sound exactly like it does on the album, because he's not, taking 50 takes to get the absolute perfect thing. It's like, no, he's just doing it.
He's not using auto-tune.
Straight out of the heart. And this is what he sounds like. Right. And I appreciate that. That's the thing about him and about any music I listen to, is I appreciate honesty on any level. It doesn't matter how bad a singer you are. If you are honest in your lyrics and the way you present yourself as a singer, hey, I'll be into it.
I was actually, was it last weekend? This past weekend? Yeah, at some point I was doing dishes. Time is a
flat circle.
Yeah, it is a flat circle right now. I was listening to John Hyatt, believe it or not.
Okay.
Who is a sort of alternative blues country artist from the, I think, 70s through the 90s.
From the 1400s.
The 1400s, yes.
It's a miracle they got him recorded.
He was a Renaissance man.
Literally. In the Renaissance.
But no, and that's, I'd heard all of his songs before, and I'm listening to them again going, oh shit, I forgot that was him. Oh shit, I forgot that was him.
These are really good. Hey, that's pretty good. But I don't know why I don't listen to this more, but I'm glad that part of what I like about this podcast is there are times where I can like find an album that by an artist I like that I haven't listened to as much as I ought to.
Right.
And it gives me an excuse to listen to them a bunch of times on what is perhaps an unappreciated. Oh, no.
Well, I'm going to get pulled over on the way home. Sure as fucking a stink like beer.
Well, there you go. Just be careful.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, just put it on the coaster. That's what they're for. I think you perhaps, I mean, this is a very tight
yeah, I don't know what the idea behind that
pop top or whatever.
That 6-pack holder is.
Yeah, I don't like them.
I don't like that at all. It's
you'd have to use way too much force to pull them off.
It uses too much plastic. Although this is not going to choke a turtle or anything.
Yeah, it doesn't have the holes.
So if you love small wetland
ocean animals.
Yeah, ocean animals.
Well, it's not ocean. I mean, we have a landfill. It's not going to be ocean animals that end up in there.
I don't want to hurt dolphins. My kids say dolphins. You live in Minot, North Dakota.
Your straw is not going to end up in a dolphin's mouth. Maybe a painted box turtle.
But no.
Or a snapping turtle, but not one of these.
By the time this gets to the ocean, everything is extinct.
Yeah. Quick sidebar. It's not going to be quick.
It never is.
On snapping turtles.
Okay.
Because like we have snapping turtles up here, but generally you don't think of a common snapping turtle as being particularly large. Like alligator snapping turtles are massive.
Right.
And you know, they will take your whole hand off. But like regular common snapping turtles, you don't think of being so huge. But god damn, there was one time I was leaving my parents' house coming back up here when I was in college. And there was a snapping turtle pretty far from any body of water, just walking across the road near the railroad tracks above the, you know, on the hill above my parents' place. And it was like, it was huge.
Monster. You know, and
massive.
I want to know where things like that live in the winter here. It's down to 40 below.
They dig down into the mud.
How? But I mean,
and they breathe through their asshole.
I know that. But I mean, and
they just hibernate.
But how can you hibernate and not die at 40 fucking below?
Well, they're down in the water and in the mud, so they're pretty insulated. They're pretty. Water is a pretty good insulator, and so is mud. And they dig down there, and they just respirate through their anus. And nature's fucking amazing, dude. It happens.
So I know there are kinds of frogs that what they do is they purify their bodies so much that the water that's contained in their body doesn't have enough particles in it to cause crystals. So they will be just a suspended sub-zero liquid.
Yeah, they'll be
in the ground.
It's like what, you know, in science fiction, cryogenic hibernation. Yeah. Whenever, you know, people need to go on a super long space journey.
Sure.
They're cryogenically frozen. The thing is we have yet to figure out any possible way to make that survivable for a human being.
Yeah, it would not be.
We don't have chemical processes like that the way that frogs and turtles do.
So once we thaw Walt's head out and ask it, you know, how can this be done?
Apparently with turtles, their body becomes so incredibly flooded with like lactic acid that it takes them like weeks to basically recover their full range of motion after they've hibernated. And I imagine their brain just kind of turns their pain receptors off, because anybody who's ever done, you know, athletics or a significant amount of exercise knows how fucking terrible that hurts.
Yeah.
When you have a massive buildup of lactic acid, it's terrible. And that's their whole body because they haven't been breathing with their lungs for 5 months.
So what athletics were you in?
I played like basketball when I was in junior high.
Oh, okay.
A little bit or not junior high, even middle school is what it was.
Same thing.
It depends on where
6th, 7th, and 8th is junior high and middle school.
I guess for Washburn, it was kind of split between 1 through 6. It was a K through 12 school, but it was sort of split between like elementary was 1 through 6th. Junior high was 7, 8, 9. High school was 10, 11, 12. That's the way it worked in Washburn.
And then the Ladybugs picnic.
Yep. So anyway. Back to the subject at hand. Something that I wanted to mention, because there's a absolutely dizzying amount of instruments played on this album, all of which, as far as I know, are played by Austin Lunn. With the exception, perhaps, of I think at certain points there were violin. I know he plays cello and bass. So it stands within reason that maybe he plays fiddle and violin, because there's some fiddle on this here album. It stands to reason, but I did not find anything that indicates he played the fiddle on this album, but just the amount of guitars. So the kinds of guitar played on this, we have acoustic, electric, acoustic baritone, resonator, square neck resonator, 5 different kinds of guitar.
Right.
Then we have bass, which includes acoustic, aka upright stand-up bass, electric bass. I think there was one more listed in there that I didn't write down. Banjo, lap steel, drums and other percussion, keyboard, mandolin, harmonica, vocals, accordion, and orchestra bells.
These are all the things Austin played.
Yeah, on this album. I think he might have had some help from somebody, but as far as I know, this is as very much DIY. That's how he does all of his stuff.
Sure.
And I don't think this was any different, but it's like, Jesus Christ, how do you have the time to learn all those instruments, much less play them well enough to be as good as it is on this album? It's fucking insane. So do you think this slaps? We're going to speed through some criteria here.
The first half slaps.
Yeah, the first. You know what? Surprisingly, some parts of the second half slap.
Some part of the second half slap.
A few songs on the second half I consider to slap. I will say that. Score, I didn't find a lot of reviews that gave a number. A lot of them were just essay reviews. But a couple of them did give a number. It averaged out to about 84 is what I found. What's your favorite song? We'll do part 1 and part 2, favorite songs on each.
Actually, I had a hard time. Which song do I like best on part 1? I think Snowbird and Branches.
That's a good one.
The final song.
The closer track.
It's got Sig Olson doing that reading about nature.
Yes.
Which is really good.
There's also another song on here that has just Austin speaking that I swear is a John Muir quote, who is a famous naturalist called the father of the national park system.
Sure.
He's the guy who basically created the national parks and or at least he was a naturalist and poet and writer that loved Yosemite National Park.
Sure.
And was one of the people that convinced the government, hey, protect this shit.
Right.
And the founder of the Sierra Club.
Nice.
But I swear the part that's Austin speaking is a John Muir quote, but it might not be. That might just be something that Austin wrote. I don't know. But what about part 2? Your favorite on part 2?
Favorite part 2, I did like The Itch. What is the one before that, though?
I will see.
Because it's the first one where we get sort of almost an upbeat feel.
Are you talking about shit? I have it written down here. What I'm thinking of, The Wandering Ghost?
Yes, The Wandering Ghost, yes.
That's my favorite for part 2.
Yeah, that is good.
I listened to that one a lot without listening to any of the rest of either part of this album while listening to the one.
Also, the one that sticks out is Nothing Will Change After I'm Gone.
Yeah. That one's heavy into the kind of sad. It gets kind of ballady towards the end.
Right.
In a bit more upbeat towards the end, but the first part is just kind of like, whew, okay, I'm sad now. My favorite for part 1 is Blatteman, which is the third song right after what is it? En vit Ravensdod it's Norwegian for something. I don't know.
Which he's not Norwegian. I mean,
he's of Norwegian descent.
Ancestry, but he's from Kentucky.
He's spent some time in Norway, sure. But Blatteman is my favorite song because the intro is just like the riff in the intro, and then there's a recurring riff that occurs just after the intro of the song that I am really fond of, and that it just blasts toward the end. The last 30 seconds of the song are some of like the most high energy, triumphant parts of the first part of this double album. And I really like it. I like a lot of the other stuff on this, but that's the one that stuck out to me. So what medal are you bestowing upon this? Like Maskanata to Chewbacca?
Man, I'm right in between silver and gold on this one, because the second part it depressed me so hard that I don't know if I can go back and listen to this again. I think part 1 I can, part 2 I'd have to be in the mood for it. So maybe I have to give it a silver.
Or would you say gold for part 1, silver for part 2?
Perhaps, yeah.
That's how I would rate it as well. There's only a little bit of silver that I will find myself listening to. Like I will look up bits of part 2. Like I will seek out The Wandering Ghost to listen to.
Sure. But
not really anything else on part 2. Whereas part 1, I can absolutely just listen to that
all the way through
a number of times. And it's not going to, get to me or affect me all that much, other than fuck yeah, I'm listening to Panopticon. This is great.
Yes.
Part 2 is just like a little bit outside my comfort zone in certain parts. And then it's like, wow, this is just kind of sad. kind of depressing in a way that's not quite as novel as like Bell Witch. Because hey, maybe part 2 will get to the point like it did with me with Mirror Reaper, where I can listen to Mirror Reaper at any time of the day, and I'm just like, this is fine. I'm not sad because I've just listened to it so many times at this point. So I guess that does it for our discussion of this Panopticon album, The Scars of Man on a Once Nameless Wilderness.
Part 1 and 2.
Part 1 and 2. Next week, what are you thinking?
Next week, I'm thinking we're going to go back circa the first wave of black metal.
Another first wave album.
Circa the first wave. It's a band called Black Death.
Okay.
It is their debut album from 1982. Their self-titled debut from 1982, Black Death.
Okay. Black Death by Black Death. Is there a song on it called Black Death?
Yes.
Well,
I believe there is.
Continuing the tradition.
Yeah.
Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath on the album Black Sabbath.
And then at some point this year, I promise I'm going to bring Metal Church to the table.
Oh, God. Metal Church by Metal Church on the album Metal Church.
Yeah. Recorded in a year, Metal Church in the city of Metal Church.
It's the most power metal band there is.
Well, have you heard them? Have you listened to Metal Church?
I have not, but it's just everything else about them makes them seem like the most power metal that you can get.
There's something that's very dark about that album.
Okay. Well, we'll get there at some point.
I think you can appreciate. It might not be your cup of tea, but it's like a cup of tea you can appreciate.
I desperately have to pee, so we're going to wrap things
Let's get out of here.
Thank you very much for listening. You can find us on Twitter and on Facebook if you want to listen in your browser or something like that. There are links to where you can do that. Otherwise, we're on your phone. We're on the Libsyn, podcast source,
podcast app.
Well, it's your podcast app on iOS.
Yeah.
On Android, I don't remember what it's called. Anyway, thanks for listening. I really have to go to the bathroom. I'm
OJ.
Congratulations.